Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Candice Charice here with me today. How you doing, Candice?
I'm well, Cedric. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Now, we are in for a very interesting show today. We're going to talk about a subject matter that seems to roll off of people's tongues on a daily basis, but I don't know that it always comes off correctly. And I think you're here to put some things in a proper perspective. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to speak with you today and the audience. I have so much to share.
Absolutely. Where are you from?
Chicago, born and raised.
Chicago.
Yes, the Windy City.
The Windy City. What was life like for you growing up in Chicago? Talk to me.
It was good. Close-knit community, good neighborhoods. It's not what you see on TV. It's good. I really love my hometown.
When you say not what you see on TV, explain what you mean by that.
Chirac. Just the violence and everything. I think it's depending on where you go. It's really how the media depicts the city, and it's not always true.
I mean, I appreciate those comments because I see a lot of Chirac posts about the dangers of living in Chicago, to the point where when somebody tells me that they're from Chicago, I tend to think, how are you managing to survive there? So shed a little bit of light on that. I mean, the whole Chirac activity. And for those people that don't know, there are areas of Chicago that are infamous for people, getting shot on a regular basis. But what she's saying today is that that's not everywhere in Chicago. So can you kind of explain that to us a little bit?
Absolutely. I think with any city, there are areas that you just shouldn't go in because of the danger level. But, it's no different than any other city. I think when you grow up here, you have your community and you have your family and your friends, and the areas in which you should go and where you shouldn't. So I don't think it has any more danger than any other city.
Okay. Interesting. Now, what part did you grow up in, and what was your childhood like?
I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the Chatham area. Okay. It was really good. So my family, we actually owned like 3 houses on the same block. So it was always going over to your aunt's house, your grandma's house. And whenever you were in trouble, you ran out the window, like you snuck out, went to grandma, and she saved me every time. So it was a really good childhood. Same grammar school friends, high school friends. It was good.
So in other words, when there was a holiday on that particular street, all the cars lined up belonged to your family.
Exactly. My family owned a bar, so it was always the party spot. So I think it's where I have my little zest for parties and whatnot. And
right.
I blame them in the best way possible.
Parties done correctly could change the world. You know that, right?
Exactly. I believe it. I have, and I guess we'll talk about it a little bit later, but, I have plans for parties for my business that I know a lot of people enjoy.
Mm-hmm. All right. What was school like for you? What were your social interactions like? Who were you during your school age years?
Tell
the truth.
I was the teacher's pet.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, I was a teacher's pet. I was actually valedictorian of like my grade school. But, I think it was really, even at that age, I thought that it was very important to be able to communicate with different groups and different people and just learn to appreciate the differences. So, education has always been important to me. Mm-hmm. From grade school up until, master's, grad school.
Mm-hmm. Were there any particular projects or activities that still remain with you to this day?
Yes. So actually, I organized like a petition with my school because I didn't like the disciplinarian's policy on like lunches. And so I gathered a group of us and I said, no, we need to sign a petition. We need to make demands. They can't treat us like this. We're humans. And they came back, they said, you spelled this word wrong. So, so that taught me a lesson, proofread.
Right. Who gave you the idea that you could take authority over your life and that you can make a change in the community? Who told you that?
That's interesting. I don't think anyone told me that. I just had this inherent belief that, you should be able to control what you do to an extent, to be respectful of, authority figures, but, you're in control of your life. No, you only have one. So why not live it the best that you can?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. So now that translates into you being someone of substance as a teenager and as a young adult. You obviously had thoughts about the world. Who did you think that you were going to become as you graduated from high school?
I thought that I would become successful,
Mhm.
right? The traditional version of successful, like you have a house and you have a car and you have a good job and you get paid money. And I think that was a very basic way of thinking, but I didn't know that. I didn't have a chance to experience the world, but I knew that I would be okay. And my family knew that I would be okay. I was ambitious, but where I am now, I don't think anyone would have um, foreseen that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into that. What did you do after high school?
I went to college. I went to a university here in Chicago, both for undergrad and grad school. And I went to study finance, corporate finance. And that's where I spent most of my career. And it was just interesting. I think it was a diverse population. And, I learned so much. And I'm glad that I stay close to home.
Absolutely. We see different financial experts making themselves known to the public, and in lieu of all of the financial strategies that we try to come up with without a finance degree, we seek opportunities to talk to people who majored in finance, people who claim to have some knowledge of the financial realm. So, can you give us your top three strategies that we should be looking into in terms of building a good financial base?
Yes, I do. This subject just got me excited.
Oh,
I think that there's so much lack of information around like financial education. So I think the first step would be to understand where you are. There are so many budgets and templates and worksheets available for you to be able to list, even if it's as simple as, what you have and what you owe, right? Your assets and your liabilities, and monitoring your cash flow, creating a budget. So just understanding where you are now, that's important. The second thing is doing your research. You have no excuses, in my opinion, in today's time where you can't just Google something if you really want to know about it. And also, number three, I would say communicating with your family, and your friends to open that dialogue and that conversation about financial literacy.
absolutely. And what should that conversation look like? I know a lot of people are intimidated by the conversation about finance. I mean, even from a joking how much money you have in your bank account to, hey, let's play big bank, little bank, to how do you plan to make $1 million? All of those different approaches get kind of like, apprehensive responses from people. How do you think we can really amicably have a financial conversation in our families and then in our community?
Yeah. I think money is definitely a sensitive subject. If someone says, how much money do you make? That's, you know,
Right.
that's a doozy. But I think working in terms of goals and just self-awareness. So instead of asking how much do you have, like, oh, what are your plans for the next year? Or, what apps are you using? That's a good way to start the conversation, because there are multiple apps and worksheets and I wish, yes. So there are a lot of options to be able to, be accountable for your finances. And so having
Mhm.
that conversation isn't necessarily easy, but, someone has to start it,
Right.
and I
That's
think
right.
that's a really important part.
Absolutely. Ani King Riley says, I love your suggestions. I updated my budget today. Yes, communication is key. So people are feeling what you're saying out there. Now, you mentioned apps. Are there any apps that you know about that we should be learning about?
I think that Mint is really good. That's a good app. Betterment is a good app as
How
well.
do you spell that?
Which one? Mint is Mint, and Betterment, Betterment. Betterment, and there are so many more out there. I think apps aren't for everyone. I would like to know that apps aren't for everyone. I myself, I'm a pen and paper type of person. Excel sheets, I nerd out on Excel sheets. So, that works for me so that I know where every penny goes. But for some people, it's easier. Like we're in this digital age where, you press a few buttons and you placed an order, and it makes it really easy to lose track of where your money is going.
Absolutely. Do you think that we need to do something to either catch up or get ahead in the virtual space? Like you mentioned apps, right? But what I also want to touch on, if we can, is cryptocurrency. Do we need to begin to understand cryptocurrency going forward?
I think, if you're interested, it's definitely worth looking into. It's not for everyone. I think that as it becomes more established, people will feel more comfortable going into that space. But I think that keeping your options open about the different types of vehicles and currencies is very important. Knowledge is key.
Okay. Now this is the moment where I need you to put your cape on and help a lot of us out. I'm going to give you a story. I was standing outside of a salon suite one day, and this woman was on the phone crying. And I'm just walking by. I'm actually walking through the hall, and she's crying, but she's talking out loud. It's one of those conversations where this person they might not want everybody to know their business, but the way that they're like talking out loud, everybody is hearing what they're saying. And so this woman was crying. I mean, she was like boo-hooing. And so I slowed down because I'm like, I hope I don't need to, drop her off at the police station or something like that. And she's telling her girlfriend, she's like, I had to break up with him and I'm so sad. And how I could tell her friend said, well, what happened? And I got my ear open because I'm like, well, what happened where she's standing here crying like this? And she said, girl, I happened to see his bank account and he didn't have any savings. He had less than $9,000 in savings. And for that reason, I had to break up with him. Now, this woman was crying and sobbing because I think what she thought that she realized was that this man did not meet her standards financially. So now they couldn't be in a relationship, and it was heartbreaking for her. What do we need to do, young men and women, to make sure that we got $9,000 in savings so that we don't get left in the dust? Let's go.
Oh, wow. That is an interesting story, and so many things came to mind. I think discussing expectations, right? And being able to communicate, because we'll jump into relationships, right? But we won't talk about money. We'll jump into marriages, but we won't talk about money. And so, the guy in the situation, he could think that 9,000 is a ton of money, and also I feel like it's important to note that she doesn't see the full financial picture. She doesn't know if he has multiple accounts. And so I think being able to effectively communicate what you expect and full transparency, so that's number one. But in terms of building savings and, it's important to have an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months worth of expenses put away for a rainy day, liquid funds. Okay. And, I think that it's important to make that a priority. But in terms of like relationships, it's really, it's difficult. Money is one of those that it's the big elephant in the room where you don't want to talk about it, but it needs to be discussed. So I don't know if she should have broken up with him, but I don't know the full story.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue into our current reality in society. We have ideas about money and where we want to go in life, but we also almost in that same moment have ideas about romance, who we want to be with, and where we want our love life to go. And I think sometimes, finance and love go hand in hand. And I think that we need to have that conversation and have the proper orientation in that conversation to make sure that we can actually build strong families. So I think that's where you come in at today. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. I agree. And I spend most of my career in finance, working in the private wealth sector, working with ultra high net worth families. And I think the reason why I do what I do now, which I'm a sexologist and a financial advisor, is that I realized that there was something missing. You can create plans for people and, set up their portfolio, but what are these underlying issues? Money, how do you view money, right? Money can be used as a means to control someone. A lack of money could make you feel inferior. So, there are many feelings associated with money. And then as it pertains to love, how do these feelings affect how you show love, how you express yourself, how you communicate, how you initiate intimacy? And honestly, I don't want to give too much of my business out here, but I want to share. We're family. We're cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, we're cool. So I actually started this because I realized that there was a connection between love and money. So in a previous relationship, me and my ex, we never discussed money. But there was just this, okay, well, it needs to be paid. I'll pay it, but one person, him, he, he wasn't picking up the slack. And so there were feelings of resentment and, like, you can't do this, you can't do that. So don't touch me. Why are you here? And, and it wasn't a very nice situation, but I think we never talked about it. And when you're feeling these feelings of resentment or anger, frustration, or disappointment, that makes you less likely to engage in healthy intimacy or sexual activities, which can be a disaster for relationships.
So, what should we be looking for before we really get into a deep relationship with somebody? And the direction that I would go, and you can correct me where your perspective is different, is that I'm looking for, do you have a good idea of what value is? Do you think that value is money, or do you think that value is my humanity and your humanity? The other thing I'm looking for is, do you have a vision? Do you have an idea of where we could be going in the future? Because if you're doing, like, as my mom would say, you're just living for today, well, you're not going to understand how I'm trying to build a vision that's not going to manifest today. Right. But, I'm looking for both of those things when I choose a mate. And what's your perspective on that? Do we need to think about that before we get into a relationship?
Yes, we need to think about all of those things and not be afraid to ask questions, even the difficult ones. You want to know, in terms of money, like, what did you learn growing up? What was your earliest money lesson? What did your parents teach you? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? Did you come from humble beginnings, or, was love shown through extravagant gifts, or, etc. So I think that's an important part, to ask about, your background, your childhood, how you grew up, and also your vision, like you hit on. What's your vision for the future? How do you see us building together? And even on the intimacy side, what is your definition of intimacy? What does that look like for you? What is your love language? I love the love languages. How do you show and express love? How much time do you need? Just communication. I think when you sit down and have those conversations, and, it may seem tedious, I love to just go down the list, like, okay, let me know how you feel on these topics. And if we mesh, wonderful. We can make something happen. And if not, that gives reason for, a little reservation.
I know that all does not apply to every. And before I even make this comment, I want to thank everybody who's tuning into the building. Tag a friend, text somebody else, and let them know that we're having a potentially sensitive conversation that a lot of people could get value from. But being that you're a subject matter expert right here, right now, I want you to deal with this. Is it okay that some men want to dive straight into sex and some women want to dive straight into finance? Is that okay? And how do we balance the fact that we might be on opposite ends of the spectrum?
Yes. So it's interesting. So there have been many studies that show that, men are primarily attracted to, like, the physical aspect. Like, when they choose a wife or a mate, they're looking for physical features and that physical component, like, of sex. And love, that too, but it's mostly physical, whereas a woman seeks security. So that's kind of where you go. Now, some people are interested in power and status, but ultimately a woman wants to feel like she's secure and that you're able to take care of her, even though, we have more women in the workforce and, they're making their own money, but there's still this innate desire to have a person that can provide. So, does it make it right? No. But, every case is different. Like you said, it doesn't apply to everyone, but being able to be honest and transparent, because no, I'm gonna say it. No, people tend to give their show their representative when they're showing up in relationships because you want to impress this person. But it's not about being impressive, it's about being real so that you can find a match. When you stop dealing with people's representatives, you can get to the core of it. And I'm a firm believer, like you need to get in there and ask those questions. And if they can't handle it, maybe they're not the person for you.
Well, when somebody can't handle it, is that the point where you find a counselor or find a book or get in touch with somebody like yourself? Because what if this person is he's a good man, and yes, right in the beginning of the relationship he's more interested in the sensation of sex, and you're a good woman, but right at the outset of the relationship you want to have the financial aspect straight. What if both of you are right in a sense, but y'all need help figuring out how to get to the other side of the scale? Do we just give up? And is that the reason why in our communities we have so many single parents, men and women?
So I think with the first part, I think if you really like the person and you think that you have a shared vision and potential for the future, I think it's worth working on, because relationships aren't easy. Marriages aren't easy. It requires work, but it also requires two willing participants. Mm-hmm. One person can't carry the weight. That's not fair. And, going to find communities or reading books or reaching out to someone like myself, is very helpful as it pertains to sex, intimacy, and money. But I think there are a lot of single parent households because
let me say this. In my time here on earth, I'm not a 50-year-old man, so much respect to the whole community out there who might come across this episode. But I do know that a lot of relationships end because of financial difficulty. And so we have to be able to work through that. I don't think it's enough for us to just say we're not going to be able to be successful because we're not seeing eye to eye on this piece. I think that we need to look for coaching, mentorship, books, seminars, presentations, get on YouTube and figure it out.
Definitely. And I think each person has equal responsibility for carrying their weight and to develop their selves. So many times people are interested in having a relationship and saving the relationship, but there has to be two holes in that relationship, and seeking out additional resources is a great option.
Mm-hmm. It can't be that we can't figure this out, and it must be that we need to change our paradigm. I think we need to we need to walk with a little bit more information in our cachet. I think we need to understand how to get into an effective relationship before we ever even meet somebody, and that involves having a firm understanding of sex and money.
Absolutely.
Now I'm gonna share my perspective on it, and you can share yours. People who are out there in the audience, you can drop your perspective as well. I get it. Everybody's looking for a sensational experience, and like I said, all don't apply to every. You got men and women who fit in shoes on both sides of this equation, but I think that everybody needs to take a moment and recalibrate themselves. You can't be led. You can't be led by your bottom half, just like you can't always be led by your upper half. And what I'm saying is that you can't always be led by your private, and you can't always be led by your brain. I think you should always be led by your heart. And as long as men are afraid to lead with their hearts, and as long as women are afraid to lead with their hearts, I think we always go crashing into a wall.
I agree. I think that it all starts with self-love and understanding. What I'm finding is that a lot of people, they don't really know themselves to be able to like really give themselves to another person. And in terms of leading with sex or money, like a lot of people are hurting. Like, and this is why I got into it. A lot of people are hurting, but they don't want to show it. So that's why you have these barriers. That's why, someone will say, well, I just want sex, or I just want a casual situation. I just want to hook up. When you want love, more people want love. They want connection. They want, closeness. They want intimacy. And I think it's possible once you start breaking down these barriers and understanding that, sex is just a feeling, right? It's just a sensation, a temporary sensation that you may or may not be doing all that well. That sounded horrible. I'm sorry, but it's true. A lot of people.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say a lot of people aren't really maximizing their sexual activity. It seems transactional nowadays, especially with social media and the immediate access to people. You can get that temporary thrill quickly, and people are less likely to forge these healthy, long-lasting relationships because you have this idea that there are unlimited options, which isn't true.
I agree with you there, but I also think that we need to stop offending each other so frequently. I think we're quick to offend one another, and I think that we're kind of doomed from the start when we think things like this. I've observed women personally who say, "I don't want love, I want money." And when I say security, see, when a woman, and I'm not a woman, so I stand corrected at any given time. When a woman raises her hand and says, "I want security," and what she means by that is financial security, men are automatically offended because a man thinks that security is putting his life on the line to keep you safe. So I'm automatically offended when you think that security is money. Just like you might be automatically offended when I think that love equals sex. Mm-hmm. So I think that right at the beginning, I think we offend each other, and I think that we don't circle back with the proper definitions of these things, and then I think it just goes rampant, and here we are today. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's so accurate. The idea that security is offensive, or the term security, like you have to give that meaning, like you have to put context to that. Because security isn't necessarily money. Like I mentioned earlier, women are making, more money now than they did, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so, I think security can mean like, I want you to be there. I want you to be consistent. I want to know that, you're able to hold your own and to keep a roof over our heads, in the most basic sense, not necessarily like, I need you to have X amount of money, but everyone is different. Same for love and sex. There's a really close connection like between love and sex. Like, in many cases, that's how men show love, through sex. And closeness and intimacy. So I think it really depends on, how you frame that conversation.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that we're having a very helpful conversation today. We're talking about things that are going to have value. I'd like for you to stick around after this brief message, and we'll be right back with more from Candice Charice. America's Next Motivator. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. Candice, how you feeling out there?
Wonderful. I'm excited. I love this conversation. It's so important. Love and money. Those are both very taboo topics, and people need to know more and need to be open to having these conversations. So I'm feeling really good right now. Thank you.
Absolutely. I see that those are taboo topics, especially here in America, but they're not really taboo topics in other places. And I think we need to get over it. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I definitely think we need to get over it in terms of sex. When I first became a sexologist, like if I told someone here in the States, they'll look at me with wide eyes. I'm like, you talk about what? What does that entail? Like not what you think. But, I think it's still a topic that people aren't open to discussing in a public setting. But, they'll do it. They'll have it. And they'll have issues. That's the thing. Like people are suffering in many different ways as it pertains to sex, but they don't want to talk about it. But you just have to open that dialogue. Absolutely. But people do need to get over it.
Absolutely. If you want people to actually sustain and grow in our communities, then these are two topics that we definitely need to get out in front of. Everybody wants one or the other all the time. You either want money or you want sex all the time. And so for us to allow those to be taboo subjects, I think that's incorrect. And I love the fact that you're here today for us to put it out front,
Yes.
To that point, when I look at an area like the Caribbean or Africa, South America, tropical places where people can almost eat for free, I think that there is an undercurrent that other people around the world, they understand sex. They understand value. They understand food. I was going to say money, but everybody has different money, but they definitely understand sex and value. And that's because they're not dealing with the same capitalistic system that we are, meaning everything is not about the American dollar, which is particularly powerful, but we need to accomplish that.
Yeah.
We need to be able to look around at each other and say, you know what? 9 times out of 10, this person understands sex. This person understands money. We're lit. Go ahead.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think America is focused on the mighty dollar, and that affects our way of life, our view of life and living and what it means to be fully present. So Paris is one of my favorite places on this planet. And when it comes to sexuality, they're so fluid, right? They view sex as a beautiful thing, not something, you make money on or you gain popularity for. It's just an exchange, right? It's bodies and it's motion and it's just beautiful. And also in terms of making money, like they don't have this 40-hour work week situation. Like they do their work, but they enjoy their lives, their friends, their families, and so I think that allows for a more peaceful existence, honestly, not stress-free, but less stressful.
Yeah, stress is necessary, and we know that. But are we getting at an equation? Are we uncovering an equation today that we need to be able to put a finger on? See, we talk about these subjects because there's something to it. There's a reason why you as a sexologist and a financial expert is an essential member of our community. And that's because I think we need to figure that formula out. Yeah. Now, you just said that when you understand those topics, it allows you to be present in the moment. And that's what we want to do. We want to enjoy the moment. We want to enjoy life. And so we need to figure out that equation. Now, are you able to talk about, and I'm being facetious because you obviously are able to talk about the manifestational power of sex? Let's go.
Yes. I think sex is really what you make it and what you want it to be. Oftentimes it can seem very quick and not very satisfying, but I think when you allow yourself to be in this realm of wanting this passionate intimate encounter, right, this very intense orgasmic sexual experience, I think when you allow yourself to be put in that place or to to really communicate with your partner about wanting this environment or this journey, to have this journey with them. I think that wonderful things can happen with that. But if you're limited in your perspective, then you'll always have the same kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. Sure, we have to not see each other as tools and
Yeah.
not see each other as just vain commodities. You're not a vain commodity as a woman, and I'm not just a tool as a man. We are two parts of a powerful equation that God or the universe provided to the earth. And so we've got to understand that when we come together, we have the power to manifest the future. And so many ancient texts have told us that where two or more gather, and in this case, let's be normal and say two, that so shall God and God's intentions. So when you and I come together, right? I want to land the plane. When you and I come together and we have the proper understanding of value, which is that you are tremendous. You are made of your mother and your father. That is a whole lot of value. But guess what? So am I. Now, if we both realize that we are extremely valuable, walking jewelry, if you will, then it becomes about what are you doing with the jewelry, the gifts that God gave you? Are you using them to make your world a better place before I decide to lay down with you? Because if you are, then let's sit down and talk about a dream together. Let's sit down. Let's sit down. And this is the magic of love. This is the opportunity that we have to engage with one another, clear across the planet Earth. None of this should be a vain process. Let's you and I create a vision of our future. We can put whatever we want in our vision for the future. What is it that you want? Let's put it on paper. Let's map it out. Let's go inside. Let's understand it. You and I both agree on it. So now when we get into a relationship, our intentions, our power is all manifesting a vision together. That's the power that we need to be understanding.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. I think that some of the most amazing experiences that you can have is when you're connected with someone, that's on the same wavelength as you, where you're able to connect on a physical, mental, spiritual level. I feel like that enhances every interaction, and looking toward the future, building a vision, a shared vision is so powerful. And finding a mate and choosing your partner, because your partners, that's your person, and so being in tune with them is so important.
We've been through too much as a people and as a community, as a diverse humanity, to continue to not understand the value of relationships, the value of sex, the value of the law of attraction. We've been through too much to not begin to connect these dots. So that's what you're inspiring me to think about today and to present to the world today, is that we've been through far too much. Think about it. Look at all of the families that were broken up, the families that were generationally raised by only a mother or only a father. Generations. We got 440,000 youth in the foster care system right now. We got people in homeless shelters. We got hardworking women, unhappy, working their butts off from the time they wake up. Some of our women, maybe you, maybe my wife, maybe my mom, maybe others, USA, the world, these women wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they work until 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes I call some of my loved ones, they still working at 10 o'clock at night. Same thing with a lot of our fathers out there. You got fathers who can't be in the lives of their children. They can't see their children. They can't visit. Men, good men, Might not be perfect, but as we discuss right here in this conversation, nobody understands the equation. So we're all messed up a little bit unless we're understanding this equation. But good men can't see their family, can't be whole, right? It is time for us to get a hold of this circumstance right here, exactly what you're talking about. Now, do you have any products or services, books or consultations we could take you up on?
Absolutely. But first, I would like to note, like, you touched on so many great things,
Let's
and
go.
but like it's real working hard. But one of the most important things to realize about money is that it's a resource, it's a tool, and a lot of people make it seem like it's their lives. Like, you have to do this, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be the ultimate goal. It doesn't have to be on a pedestal. It's a way to provide for your lifestyle. It's a resource. And I think removing some of that power can definitely allow for, greater freedom and joy in your life. But currently I have a special offer just for you all. So I do offer one-on-one group sessions, and just for this audience, I'm offering 5 free sessions on my website, which is tantalizinglove.com. And then you're able to go, it's the first come, first serve. You're able to go on and book a session with me for an hour-long conversation. We can discuss current issues or questions, or, just really creating a plan to move forward with, better intimacy, communication. I have a lot of communication techniques that I'm more than willing to share, to enhance congruency and just really connecting with your partner. So we have the coaching session. I have a webinar coming up, focusing solely on how money affects your relationship and your intimacy. And I also have 2 books on my site. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just here with you.
Yeah, I put it all together for you all. I put it all.
Let's go. You said your website is tantalizinglove.com?
Yes, tantalizinglove.com.
Okay.
www. Tantalizinglove.com. And so, there's a lot of information on there. I have some freebies, some tips, initiating sex, how to deal with how to save your relationship during turbulent times. I have 2 ebooks, 7 Steps to Better Sex, Intimate Sex Secrets Revealed, and also, a more serious topic, In Love and Alone, how to deal with feelings of neglect.
And what's your author name for people who might look this up?
Sexologist Candice.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a lot on there, and I think with coaching in general, it's helpful because every situation is different. There's no one size fits all, and that's true with money. It's true with sex and intimacy. And there are so many different factors. So I love providing helpful information, but when you're able to work one-on-one and say, okay, well, let's get down to it. And I have a very direct approach, and it works.
How do we save a turbulent relationship?
So many things. First of all, you have to self-assess.
Okay.
You have to figure out, okay, well, what part did I play in this? And starting from that point, and then understanding how to open the conversation and how to communicate, because most times it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. So when you're coming from a place of, well, you don't do this, or you did this and it made me feel this way, try using I statements. I felt this way when this happened, or, I would appreciate this instead of this. So, being able to communicate in a way that your partner will understand and receive. That's important. And also finding ways to bond with each other, outside of just the situation, but maybe going back to a time where you did something fun, like ice skating, or, going to the movies and taking some of the pressure off of it. Finding ways to open the conversation and try to see the other person's view.
Mm-hmm. Is this conversation right here the key to us not settling for somebody that we don't want? I know a lot of people who don't want to settle, So they end up being by themselves. And everybody wants to attack people's standards. Oh, your standards are wrong, right? Men and women, you need to change your standards. But see, people come up with these standards for a reason. They come up with those standards based off of what they've been through. So I never want to invalidate somebody's standards. But do we need to have this conversation right here in order for us to have, actual understanding?
Absolutely. I think standards are important, and no one should judge another person's standards because they've developed those standards for a reason. And so, I think being realistic about it, not coming from a place of pain or hurt or fear, I think standards are good, but also understanding that self-work is the key. But self-work is not sexy. Like, that doesn't sell. But it's important for you.
What do you mean by that? Self-work is not sexy. What do you mean by that? Because I might disagree with you on that.
No, I think it's helpful. I think that it's important, but in terms of what's popular.
Okay.
That's what I mean by self-care isn't sexy. People aren't looking to go online and say, oh, well, something's wrong with me. Let me Google this. It's not something that's at the forefront. That's what I mean. But self-care and self-work and self-love, that's the sexiest thing I know. But in terms of what people are looking for.
Right. Well, this is why I preface some statements with all doesn't apply to every, because I think that a growing trend right now is self-care. And I think that now more than ever, self-care is sexy. If you can regularly be seen drinking water, working out, especially if you're posting this stuff to social media, I think people are starting to pay attention to that. If you're walking, if you have a face care regimen, a lot of men they're getting their nails done now. They washing their face. Men out here washing their face, man. I seen a video a couple of days ago. DJ Funk Flex getting liposuction, playing Wu-Tang Clan in the background. We never thought we'd see the day where men are going these lengths to take care of themselves. I think that self-care is the new sexy.
Yeah. I definitely think that it's important and it's trending, but as it pertains to relationships, a lot of it, as it pertains to relationships, I think a lot of people are entering them from a place of lack, right? Mm-hmm. And so, while self-care is great and it's becoming more and more important and trending more, I think that's beautiful, but I also understand that from a relationship standpoint, a lot of people are entering them because there is this sense of inadequacy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not always. Let me preface that.
Yeah.
Not always, but that's where a lot of the hurt and misunderstanding happens and lack of communication.
Is this the key to the evolution of us as men and women? Understanding like your whole subject area. Is that the key?
I think so, along with communication, understanding money as it plays a role in your life, sex as it plays a role in your relationship. I think it all ties together and being able to effectively communicate. Communication is the key for everything. Like how you feel about it, what you tell yourself, and also how you interact with others. That's equally as important.
Is there a way that we can be having this conversation with minors? How do we talk about this with minors, knowing that they'll get out there in the world one day at 18 or 19 and have to deal with the reality of this all around them? How do we start this conversation early, respectfully?
I think the money conversation should happen very early.
Okay.
With understanding what money means and what it can do, saving, spending, giving. Those are all things that can be taught very early on. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of sex and intimacy, we have the internet. So they have much greater access than they've ever had before. So I would suggest starting young as well and discussing what is sex? What does it mean? When should you have it? Because if they don't hear it from you, they'll hear it from their friends, which isn't helpful. So I think getting in front of it is so important.
Absolutely. What's next for you?
What's next for me? So, as I mentioned, I'm launching my webinar, but I'm also hosting a couples retreat next year, either in Bahamas or Jamaica. I haven't decided yet, but it'll be a really great time with a lot of people. Hopefully, things clear up with the pandemic, but I'm excited to be able to host this event with classes and workshops and really allowing or helping people reset. And, there's no better way than with a vacation and new scenery and just adding that spice and that spark. So I'm excited about that.
That sounds like a party. You seem like the type of person that could throw a heck of a party.
I throw the best parties. And anyone, because I think, I believe in living life and being present in the moment and just enjoying. So like if I'm out and I'm at a party or I'm on vacation, like I'm on the dance floor, I'm gonna dance until my legs give out. Like that's what it's about. Just like, because those are the memories that matter. Like the money, it can come, it can go, but you want to cherish those memories and those experiences and those times. So, I'm super excited.
Right. I do also see a trend of, different types of parties going on out there. If you're going to throw those types of parties, I definitely want to encourage people to look out for them. Every party is not a party where, you're sitting at the bar or you're on the dance floor. There are parties out there where people are playing games. Some people are drinking soda. Some people might be drinking a little bit of alcohol, but the context is a grown-up social gathering where, people might be having a conversation about, sex and money at a party. I think that's the new wave. What you think?
No, I definitely agree. It's really important. I think something that's on my agenda is doing like a mixer, because a lot of people don't really know how to have conversations anymore for some reason. And so being able to see people face to face and not just swipe, being able to really engage in meaningful conversations and having the setting to do so. So I think that's really important, and exchanging ideas, that's so powerful. Seeing things in a new way from a new perspective. That's equally as important.
Nice. What's the best pickup line you ever heard? Let's go.
Oh my goodness, the best pickup line. Let me think. Oh goodness.
Because I know what these cornballs be saying. They be saying, did it hurt?
Yeah. I get a huh?
They be saying, did it hurt when you fell from heaven?
Yeah. I get a lot of people like coming with the church angle, like, Lord and bless you. Like,
right.
God Almighty, like.
Hey, you're right about that. Yeah, you're right. They do be hitting on you in church. Yeah, God bless you. Saying God bless you all crazy. Yeah, they do that too.
Yeah. Lord served you right. Like
God blessed you.
Yes.
Like, all right, Deacon DeCabbage, calm down, man. So we're rounding third base today. I really had a great time with you, and we got about 40 seconds for you to answer this last three questions. The first one is, what is survival to you?
Survival is the day-to-day, making your next moment the best moment.
What is success to you?
Freedom, impact, happiness.
What is greatness to you?
Greatness is the feeling of being able to do what you want to do and helping people in the process.
Absolutely. I hope that people do more work to get to that place as well.
Absolutely.
You've made valuable comment after valuable comment today, and I want to let you know that I've listened to your journey. I've appreciated it. I want to give you a crown today while you're still living. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis in the building. I want to give you your respect today while you can still receive it, while you're still here with us. And I want to let you know and let the world know that you, Candice Charice, the sexologist and financial expert, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you
Absolutely,
so
without a doubt.
much. Oh, the crowns. I love
Yes,
it. Thank you so much. Thank you for
yes.
having me.
You're very
Made
welcome.
my day. Thank you.
You know, I look forward to more powerful work from you in the future. I think that what you're doing is absolutely essential. And I'd love to have more conversations with you in the future if we can. All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Tantalizing love. Stay tuned. And like, absolutely, this has to happen again. I appreciate you.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
Thanks for stopping by today. All right.
Of course. Bye.
Bye bye. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do, just like you did today, is stop by and pick it up.